بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. واضرب لهم مثل الحياة الدنيا كماء إن أنزلناه من السماء فاختلط به نبات الأرض فأصبح هشيما تذروه الرياح وكان الله على كل شيء مقتدرا. المال والبنون زينة الحياة الدنيا والباقيات الصالحات خير عند ربك ثوابا وخير أملا. ويوم نسير الجبال وترى الأرض بارزة وحشرناهم فلم نغادر منهم أحدا وعرضوا على ربك صفا لقد جئتمونا كما خلقناكم أول مرة بل زعمتم أن لن نجعل لكم موعدا. ووضع الكتاب فترى المجرمين مشفقين مما فيه ويقولون يا ويلتنا ما لهذا الكتاب لا يغادر صغيرة ولا كبيرة إلا أحصاها ووجدوا ما عملوا حاضرا ولا يظلم ربك أحدا. وإذ قلنا للملائكة اسجدوا لآدم فسجدوا إلا إبليس كان من الجن ففسق عن أمر ربه أفتتخذونه وذريته أولياء من دوني وهم لكم عدو بئس للظالمين بدلا. ما أشهدتهم خلق السماوات والأرض ولا خلق أنفسهم وما كنت متخذ المضلين عضدا. ويوم يقول نادوا شركائي الذين زعمتم فدعوهم فلم يستجيبوا لهم وجعلنا بينهم موبقا. ورأى المجرمون النار فظنوا أنهم مواقعوها ولم يجدوا عنها مصرفا. ولقد صرفنا في هذا القرآن للناس من كل مثل وكان الإنسان أكثر شيء جدلا. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلى الله على محمد وآل محمد. will now proceed with Ziyarat al-Arbaeen. Please recite the salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وصل اللهم على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين. السلام على ولي الله وحبيبه، السلام على خليل الله ونجيبه، السلام على صفي الله وابن صفيه، السلام على الحسين المظلوم الشهيد، السلام على أسير الكربات وقتيل العبرات. اللهم إني أشهد أنه وليك وابن وليك وصفيك وابن صفيك والفائز بكرامتك، أكرمته بالشهادة وحبوته بالسعادة واجتبيته بطيب الولادة وجعلته سيدا من السادة وقائدا من القادة وذائدا من الذادة، وأعطيته موارث الأنبياء وجعلته حجة على خلقك من الأوصياء. فاعذر في الدعاء ومنح النصح وبذل مهجته فيك ليستنقذ عبادك من الجهالة وحيرة الضلالة، وقد توازر عليه من غرته الدنيا وباع حظه بالأرذل الأدنى وشرى آخرته بالثمن الأوكاس وتغطرس وتردى في هواه وأسخطك وأسخط نبيك وأطاع من عبادك أهل الشقاق والنفاق وحملة الأوزار المستوجبين النار، فجاهدهم فيك صابرا محتسبا حتى سفك في طاعتك دمه واستبيح حريمه. اللهم فلعنهم لعنا وبيلا وعذبهم عذابا أليما. السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله، السلام عليك يا ابن سيد الأوصياء، أشهد أنك أمين الله وابن أمينه، عشت سعيدا ومضيت حميدا ومت فقيدا مظلوما شهيدا، وأشهد أن الله منجز ما وعداك، ومهلك من خذلاك، ومعذب من قتلاك، وأشهد أنك وفيت بعهد الله وجاهدت في سبيله حتى أتاك اليقين، فلعن الله من قتلك، ولعن الله من ظلمك، ولعن الله أمة سمعت بذلك فرضيت به. اللهم إني أشهدك أني ولي لمن والاه، وعدو لمن عاداه، بأبي أنت وأمي يا ابن رسول الله، أشهد أنك كنت نورا في الأصلاب الشامخة والأرحام المطهرة، لم تنجسك الجاهلية بأنجاسها، ولم تلبسك المدلهمات من ثيابها، وأشهد أنك من دعائم الدين وأركان المسلمين ومعقل المؤمنين، وأشهد أنك الإمام البر التقي الرضي الزكي الهادي المهدي، وأشهد أن الأئمة من ولدك كلمة التقوى وأعلام الهدى والعروة الوثقى والحجة على أهل الدنيا، وأشهد أني بكم مؤمن وبإيابكم موقنون بشرائع ديني وخواتيم عملي، وقلبي لقلبكم سلم، وأمري لأمركم متبع، ونصرتي لكم معدة حتى يأذن الله لكم، فمعكم معكم لا مع عدوكم، صلوات الله عليكم وعلى أرواحكم وأجسادكم وشاهدكم وغائبكم وظاهركم وباطنكم، آمين رب العالمين.
صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. Just a few announcements before we get started. The regular housekeeping rules of keeping your masks on at all times when walking throughout the building, except when you are sitting in your seat. If it is uncomfortable, you are permitted to take it off, and please also follow all the general guidelines of the COVID protocols. I would also like to thank the volunteers and those who donated as well. The tireless efforts of the volunteers and the help of the donators has really helped make this program come together, so thank you all very much. And also, of course, a big thank you to the Shaikh Shafiq, for his knowledge and his insight and his wisdom and his great company as well last night and tonight. Finally, before I invite the Shaykh to come forward to give his lecture, I would like to announce that Hudda Hussein is hosting a blood drive Friday, October 8th. So not tomorrow, but the Friday after. There will be 20 appointments starting at 1:25 p.m. and this will be happening at the Ottawa Blood Donor Center at 1575 Carling Avenue. Again, that's Friday, October 8th at 1:25 p.m. at 1575 Carling Avenue. You can contact Hudda Hussein at the following email, ottawa@huddahussein.org. You can also talk to, I think, Ayman Zibara and Abul Qasim too on the men's side. I'm not exactly sure on the sister side, but you can still contact that email, of course. And I believe that is it. So without further ado, I would like to invite the Shaykh with loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
حفظكم الله. الفاتحة. بسم الله. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل، نعم المولى ونعم النصير. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين خالق السماوات والأرض، إلها واحدا أحدا صمدا لم يتخذ صاحبة ولا ولدا، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين، خاتم النبيين رحمة للعالمين، طه وياسين بالقاسم محمد، وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين المنتجبين، ورحمة الله على محبيهم، ولعنة الله على أعدائهم وقاتليهم وغاصب حقوق حقهم ومنكر فضائلهم أجمعين من يومنا هذا إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقد قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم: إن الحسين مصباح الهدى وسفينة النجاة. صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. سيدنا بإجازة شو आपकी इजाज़त से. My respected sisters and brothers, my elders, my youngsters, the volunteers of ARK and participants in the lecture, my respected Sayyid, the Shaykh who has just left, but he was, I also had taken his permission. Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May Allah Ta'ala protect each and every one of you. May He increase His bounties and His blessings upon all of you, inshaAllah. And before I begin the actual session for tonight, the second of our Arbaeen session, I just wanted to inform the volunteers and the executive members of ARK that when I was here last year, a year has passed, mashallah, and it feels like just last month. And I am extremely ashamed of myself and shy to let you know that I had promised some gifts to those who had participated in the quiz that I had handed out from my lectures. And so even though a year later, because the Quran mentions that inna lahda kana mas'uda, all promises will be questioned, and I'm not exempt from that, obviously. So I have left some books with Brother Kareem, who will give it to those who had participated in the quiz, and those who had emailed me directly, I will give him the list as well. And I do seek your sincere forgiveness for the 1-year delay. There have been a few issues in our community, in the Kitchener-Waterloo area, as well as in my own personal life. And for that, I sincerely seek your forgiveness and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive me also. And with that, I will ask you to recite one more salawat upon Muhammad and Ali Muhammad, please. Yesterday night we began a bit of a discussion on Surah Namal, the Surah of the ant. And the surah is got a number of interesting themes therein. And was mentioning that I'll just touch upon two things that I wanted to highlight. But the actual surah is actually very rich. It has got a lot of course, all the surahs of the Quran Majid are very rich. I've got a lot of, food for thought. And it is something that we need to inshallah spend more time on. And I know, mashallah, all of you, most of you, many of you are regular reciters of the Quran Majid and will have the Quran as a part of our regular and important lives. And the guidance that's contained in there is something that is, believe me, it's an eye-opener. And one of the things that the Surah Al-Namal talks about and mentions are some of the miracles that have happened with Hazrat Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, because the very first prophet mentioned in the surah is Nabiullah Musa. And I had mentioned that I am not a mufassir, I'm not a commentator, and I'm not doing a commentary on Surah Namal. There are just a couple of things that I wanted to highlight from that surah that I think are really important in our community for ourselves and to broaden our horizons and our mind to understand a very deep and an important message from Allah. So the miracles that are mentioned, of course, with Hazrat Musa and with Nabiullah Sulaiman, Prophet Saleh and the she-camel, that's also mentioned. And if you do have some time, whenever you have a moment, go through the surah. There's only about 83 verses in it. And as a result, you will find that, why I had selected this, and that'll give you an idea, inshallah. I had mentioned that yesterday I had given one reason why I had selected it, one important part, and that is the actual Namal itself. And today, inshallah, if you will pay attention, which I'm expecting that you will, it's a Thursday night, the holiest night of the week, and I will, inshallah, give you the second reason why I had selected this surah. So miracles have been used by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make sure that His message is followed and conveyed and obeyed. Because anybody can make any claims. I can stand up, na'udhu billah, and say, I'm a prophet of God, and follow me. And there are places in the world where anybody who does claim that will get thousands of followers. There are villages and remote places, there are, certain areas that perhaps the people's illiteracy or the people's naivety is such that they'll believe anybody and anything. Somebody who is a different color of skin, somebody who is a different height, somebody who has got some characteristics or qualities. And it has happened throughout history that people have made claims. And they have made various, even sometimes ludicrous assumptions and claims in order to get people to follow them, people to give money to them. And in today's discussion, we'll talk about how Allah Ta'ala stops this by giving the authentic, the true authorities a miracle that cannot be performed by somebody else. A miracle that is actually a miracle as opposed to magic. Magic is deception, miracle is reality. And that is why when I was mentioning about Nabiullah Musa alayhi salam, one of those miracles, one of those things that Allah Ta'ala gave him was the asa, his staff, being turned into a snake. And when it became a snake, and he went to the magicians in the court of Fir'aun, when he went in the court of Fir'aun and the magicians threw down their staffs and they became, these so-called serpents, and Hazrat Nabiullah Musa Kalimullah alayhi salatu wasalam threw his asa down, threw his staff down, and his snake, his asa became a snake, ended up eating all of the magician snakes, so much so that the magicians fell into prostration and said, we believe in the God of Moses and Harun. We believe in the God of Moses and Harun. Pharaoh is infuriated, he's angry, and they replied to him, they explained to him, what we had was magic and deception, the eyes get fooled. What Moses has got is reality. Moses had haqiqat. And so miracles are used to prove the point. Now we are reading about that, we are talking about that thousands of years ago, right? How about we look at today's day and age? Do we have any miracles today? As I was researching for these discussions at ARK here in Ottawa, and I am grateful to the volunteers of ARK, both on the sisters and the brothers side, for giving me this opportunity once again to come into your presence. And it is an honor and a pleasure for me and all the mu'mineen who are attending, participating, or listening online. Physical participation is one thing. Even if you're listening online, wherever you are in the world, inshallah, I am truly grateful and indebted to you. Inshallah, may Allah make it easier. So as I was preparing and researching for this, I found out something very interesting. You know, there are certain perceptions in our mind of miracles and certain perceptions in our minds as to what the qualities or who are Muslims. And we had talked about that yesterday. I'm going to be continuing that as well. And as I was reading, I came across an interesting article. And the source of the article was even more baffling to me. The source of this article that I came across was even more, fascinating for me, because it was a source that is not very friendly to Islam, and even less friendly to the Ahlul Bayt. It's known as the British Broadcasting Corporation. So I'm giving you the reference because one of the things that we try and do on the mimbar, we're not allowed to just speak from the top of our head and all that. We have to give some dalil, some dalail, some evidences. Maulana Sahib, you know how the lectures work. We have to give evidences because any one of you can come to me afterwards, and may Allah reward you for your loving nature with me, but don't let me get off that easily either. Be sure to ask for dalil, proof, evidence. Why did you say this? What is your proof for that? So what we see is that I gave you the reference of this BBC. You can actually look it up. They were looking at some of the artifacts in the Scandinavian countries, particularly in Sweden. And they had found many of the relics of the Jazakallah khair, Ahsant. And they found the kafan, the burial shrouds of some of these Vikings that had been buried. And they found sort of many of the wood planks. And one of the professors, Dr. Annika Larsson, she was looking at some writing on these kafans, on these burial shrouds, as well as on the boat, on their ships. The Vikings were quite ferocious people. They were tough guys, right? And they were not easy. And their boats, and wherever they went, they often, had a very, interesting majesty and awe around them. So she was looking at this, and she could not decipher what was written there. So she sought the help. Dr. Larsson seeks the help of one of her Iranian co-professors, archaeologists, friends, professors, and he is asked to try and decipher, what is this writing? Ma hada? Chikana mikoni. Inchiye, what is this? Ye kya hai? What is written here? And he smiles and he says, you see what this is written here? This is the name of God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, written in the Arabic language. Vikings from the Scandinavian area, who supposedly would have had no direct interaction or love of Muslims or following Islam, yet their ships and their kafans had the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala written in the Arabic language. Now that in itself would have been phenomenal. That in itself would have been, mashallah, an interesting enough miracle for me to share with you. But there was something else written right beside the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Jazakallah khair. It was written right there. And the Iranian professor smiles and he says, yes, that is the name of God, Allah, written in Arabic. And right beside the name of Allah, both on the kafan, on the burial shroud, and on the boat, was the name of none other than Amir al-Mu'mineen wa Imam al-Muttaqeen, Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. Yani the name of Ali alayhi salam, Mawla Ali, was written on the boats and on their kafans, because we had already been told 1,000 years earlier than that the Prophet of Islam had said that when you go into your grave, the true believers will go into their graves, and even the disbelievers, they will have a meeting with Ali ibn Abi Talib, and inshallah in their graves, the believers will be elated to see their Mawla, and the disbelievers or the munafiqeen, they will have a different change in their faces. And even when written on their boats, the hadith of the Holy Prophet mentions that مثل أهل بيتي كمثل سفينة نوح. The example of my Ahlul Bayt is like the example of the boat, the Ark of Noah. Those who board on it will be saved. Those who leave it will be drowned. And that drowning will be a spiritual drowning. Those who are with the Ahlul Bayt will be elevated and saved in the domain of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wa salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So Allah Ta'ala gives miracles in every era, in every zamana, and every point. The Quran al-Majid itself is a miracle. How it has been protected and preserved, and how it has guided, and how it has brought out interesting scientific theories, thoughts. Whether it's about the Shams, وَالشَّمْسُ تَجْرِي لِمُسْتَقَرٍّ لَهَا ذَلِكَ تَقْدِيرُ الْعَزِيزُ الْعَلِيمُ. Or whether you talk about the embryo and the fetal development in the mother's womb, whether you look at what it says about the constellations, what it says about so many things, I can go on and on and on. We'll be here till Fajr time, and some of you might have school tomorrow or work. If you're retired, then you can stay with me till Fajr time, then I'll inshallah continue on and on. On salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. That salawat tells me that nobody's in the mood for that, right? Okay. Jazakallah khair. Remember, I had mentioned it last year, I'll just remind it again. Those who recite salawat with their full enthusiasm, especially on Laylatul Jummah. Imam Sadiq says, no amal, no deed is better on Yawmul Jummah than reciting salawat upon Muhammad and Ali Muhammad. Those who do that regularly will be rich when Imam Sahibul Amr Ajjallah Ta'ala returns. Ahsant, ahsant. As Surah Naml continues, and I'm just going on those first few verses, it talks about another group. Yesterday we spoke about what it said about the Alladhina Amanu. Ay mu'minun, Alladhina yuqimuna as-salata wa yu'tuna az-zakata wa hum bil akhirati hum yuqinun. You remember that, right? So we have to move forward from that. Don't need to repeat anything. It then talks about another group of people. وَالَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا بِالْآخِرَةِ هُمْ بِالْآخِرَةِ. It says, and as for those who don't believe in the akhirah, who don't believe in the hereafter, their deeds, please listen very carefully to this. It doesn't say they're going to go into hell, they're going to this right now, not yet. It says that their deeds, their a'mal, zayyana. Their deeds will be seeming to be so beautiful, so nice. Those who don't believe in the akhirah. But in actuality, these are the wrongdoers. These are the ones who have no belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, no belief in the akhirah. Now, when you look at the world today, look at how we have come to the stage what we are at today. I want us to realize for a moment that the sins that are committed in the society, the open sins, I mean, sins have always been committed. You know that right from Hazrat Adam till now, sins have been committed. There's no ifs, buts, or ands about it. It's a reality. If there was no sin, then there would be no akhirah. There would be no Jahannam in the akhirah. There would be no need. And that's why the hadith mentions of either the Prophet or one of the A'immah, alayhimus salam. It says that if everybody had followed the path of Ali ibn Abi Talib after Rasulullah, there would have been no need to create Jahannam. Jazakallah khair. Jazakallah khair. The Prophet said, Zayyinu majalisikum bi dhikri Ali ibn Abi Talib. Enliven your majalis, your gatherings with the remembrance of Ali ibn Abi Talib. We don't go to Imam Ali just because, he was the son-in-law of the Prophet or the cousin of the Prophet. No, he was worthy of having that praise showered upon him. And that's why Rasulullah said, Ya Ali, I have so much more to say about you. My only fear is the Ummah will treat you the way the Christians treat Hazrat Isa. That's why I have to stop. So you can see the power, the magnificence of Amirul Mu'mineen. So what we see is that their deeds, the Quran is saying those who do not believe in the Akhirah, their deeds will seem nice. Now think of for a moment the society we live in. The sins, the evil deeds. Do we feel anger, pain, discomfort when we see those sins? When this marijuana was legalized in Canada. The drug was legalized in Canada. Now, I'm not talking about medicinal value. I'm not talking about medicinal issues. The medicines, if there's something that is majburi, that is a separate necessity, is a separate category. I'm talking about recreational use. Believe me, I am sitting on the mimbar. I am not joking with you. Some mu'mineen have actually thought I was joking. I don't know, Maulana Sahib, if you had received this. I don't know if Shaikh has received it. I got phone calls, not just once or twice, a number of them. Both sisters and brothers. They say, Shaikh, now that Canada has legalized marijuana, is it halal? And exactly my response, I thought that she was joking. I said, you do realize that alcohol was legalized in the early 1900s. Does that make it halal? All these other things are completely against Islam, but are they halal in Islam? No, the Sharia is the Sharia, the laws of Allah, and the country will do whatever it wants to do. But what I'm saying is, instead of being angry and upset about this, we are asking, is it okay? So can I now do it? When this same gender marriage started taking place, believers Mu'min. Those who recite La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Allahumma salli ala. Had similar questions. That okay, so is that okay? Is it hunky-dory now? And then we had to go out and say that, are you trying to change the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Not only in the Quran and Majid, the Bible's original text, the Torah, the Injil, the Zabur, all of the books of not only the Muslims, the Christians and the Jews and the Ahlul Kitab, even the books of the Sikhs and the Hindus mention what is the definition of family. It is a husband and wife that makes a family and can produce children, not any other way naturally. And yet we are asking these questions, is it okay now? What the society has done to us, inshallah, not any of you, please, I'm just talking about generally. Forgive me. I'm not putting any fingers. What it has done to us, it has desensitized us to sins. We don't see sins as sins anymore. We don't see sins as evil anymore. We are taking it, oh, this seems cool now. Is it okay? Allahu Akbar. And the Quran had reminded us of this 1400 years ago. That alladhina la yu'minuna bil akhirah bil akhirah. Their deeds, those who don't believe in the akhirah, all these sins, all these evil deeds, they will be seen as zayyana. They will be seen as beautiful. And you talk to somebody about prayers or fasting, they'll say, whoa, what's wrong with you? Prayers and fasting, that's for the old days. Are you super religious? Are you radical? Are you fanatic? Those are the kinds of accusations that come on somebody who wants to pray in the high school or in the college or in the university or in elementary or primary school. What's wrong with you? You want to pray? Are you kidding? And those who want to commit sins, oh, welcome. We have a club for this, and we have a gathering for this, and we have a social platform for this, and we have a networking for this. What has happened? What is happening? And remember one thing, the minute we become desensitized to sins, our accountability will be more severe. Why? Because we are taking even our thought process and making the laws of Allah that were haram into halal, and those who were halal, we are making them into haram. Think about it for a moment. Think about some of the social clubs in your high schools, in your universities, in your colleges. Think for what kind of, once upon a time they used to have, checkers social club. And we used to have a science social club, and we used to have, a basketball club after extracurricular activities. And because I grew up here, so, you can talk to me about peer pressure. I know peer pressure. Don't try and think that only, Brother Shafiq is he doesn't understand what's going on here. From kindergarten to grade 13, my honors, everything was done right here in Canada, right here in Ontario. And so we understand this. When we look at the life of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, a youngster, a youth, a teenager, when the message of Islam was announced, he went completely contradictory, in opposite direction to where the whole community was going. All the peer pressure was in one direction. Ali ibn Abi Talib was there with Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allahumma. Why are we not being the Ali of our time? Why are we not being the Hassan and Mujtaba of our time? Why are we not being the Ba Abdullah al-Hussein of our time? The whole community is doing the Bayat of Yazid. We will stand firm. The whole community is going this way with Banu Umayyah. We will stand firm. You see, history taught us. History has taught us so many things, but yet we don't take the example. Imagine for a moment, 10,000 Shamis, 10,000 Ahlul Sham are reciting Salatul Jum'ah on a Wednesday. Muawiyah has led Salatul Jum'ah. What a contradiction. It feels, I'm ashamed to say this on the minbar. 10,000 people recited Salatul Jum'ah on a Wednesday, and not one person from that community stood up and says, Muawiyah, what are you doing? On a Wednesday? Friday prayers? Imagine for a moment, if I was to tell our dear sisters and brothers from ARK that, I really want the lecture to start early, I want the program to start early, so instead of 7:05 for Salatul Maghrib, let's do it at 6:45. 15 minutes early, right? You will tell me what? Get the stick out. We have to teach Brother Shafiq a lesson. Why? I'm in a hurry, I have to get going, I have a long drive. No. You can have a long drive, you can get lost if you want. We cannot start Salat 15 minutes early. The Salat will be, some enthusiasm please. It will be, forget about 15 minutes. Can you recite Salat 5 minutes early? Even 1 minute early? Muawiyah did it 2 days earlier. And not one person stood up and says, Muawiyah, what are you doing? You see what the world can do. Why? Because he was keeping them well fed. So they don't speak about what is right and what is wrong. You go to many of these countries in the Middle East, the UAE or others, and you see the people following whatever the government says. Why? The government keeps them well equipped. Well, what do they call it? Well oiled? Something like that, I don't know. Well oiled, keep them quiet, because only the citizens can vote anyways, right? So they get a 95%, 96% turnout rate, voting rate, and I have been elected with 98% of the popular vote. Why? Because I've kept all the pockets full. I've kept the mouths full, the tummies are full. Doesn't matter what happens to the non-citizens. So as a result of your tummy being full, your pockets being full, you will not speak about what is right and what is wrong. Doesn't matter what is halal, what is haram. Doesn't matter what is haq, what is batil. Because I'm well fed and I'm well oiled, I don't care about anything else. Where are we going? What are we doing? You know, in these pandemic times, of course, we all have to follow the instructions of our health officials, the volunteers, the muntazameen. We have to follow the rules. We have to follow as best as we can, whatever the requirements are. That is our obligation to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to the Mimbar, to the Ahlul Bayt, and to the Masjid, and to the Husainiyah, and to the ARK as well. So please keep that in mind. Unless you have a medical reason, whatever, the laws are the laws, the rule is the rule, the safety of each other is the safety of each other. And over the course of these 18, 19 months, what has happened? We were getting $2,000 a month, mashallah. So we won't say anything ill about the government. We won't say anything ill about what is happening right or wrong. Doesn't matter. We're getting the $2,000 every month, alhamdulillah. You stay shut, I stay shut. We live happily ever after. What happened? Where is our justice? Where is our adala? Where is our conscience? Where is that inner voice that you tell us, okay, let's make sure that now that we have time on our hands, let's use that time for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not just to say alhamdulillah, or we're okay and now we don't have to worry about anyone else. Was there no dhulm over these 19 years? Was Kashmir free in these 19 years? Was Palestine okay in these 19 months? Pardon me? 19 months, was everything okay in Yemen? Was Eastern Hijaz all right? Was Nigeria and Bahrain and Yemen and Lebanon and Palestine, everything was all right? What did we do in these 19 months when we had extra time? Did we write a letter? Did we send a note out? Did we send an email to our member of parliament, our government officials, the United Nations, just to say that we care? We care that Sheikh Zakzaki has been in prison. We support the people of Lebanon, the people of Palestine, the people who are suffering in Yemen. Hospitals have been bombed by Al Saud, these descendants of Al Marwan and Al Ziyad. Where's our voice? Oh, we better keep shut. I don't want to ruffle feathers. I don't want to cause any discomfort. Why? Because I'm okay. I got the cash. I've got the time. I don't want to get involved. Did we attend any of the processions online? Yeah, you'll tell me that it was a pandemic time. We couldn't. There was countless activities online, on Zoom, on YouTube, Skype, dozens of places. What did I do in these 19 months that I can face my Prophet? I can face Mawla Ali and says, Ya Ali, Ya Rasulullah, I did what I could do. I tried my best. I was there in these 19 months that, things were shut down. My job was closed down. I couldn't go to my office. I was at home much of the time. I finished my work and I still did something for the sake of the message of Ahlul Bayt. What am I going to answer to Rasulullah, to Amirul Mu'mineen, that you saw my beloved ummah suffering? But you were too busy? Doing what? Doing what? Question that I and all of us have to answer. We cry for Abu Abdullah. We cry for what happened on Arbaeen, on Ashura, in the month of Muharram and Safar. But are we acting the way we would have acted with Imam Hussein, Abu Abdullah alayhi salam? Or would we have been that, Mawla, we'll give you the cash, go ahead. We'll join you later if we can. This is the time for us to reflect. Thursday night especially is the time for us to do tadabbur, tafakkur, and to reflect, to ponder, and to think. As I had mentioned, we have to move ahead as well, inshallah, because I want to mention to you why the second reason I had picked Surah Namal. So the Quran is advising us, warning us that people's ill deeds, those who don't believe in the akhirah, their sins will seem attractive. They'll be pulling us towards sin. That's what shaitan has done throughout history. And so this is, what happened was Hazrat Sulaiman, this is what I wanted to come to in today's discussion, inshallah. Nabi Allah Sulaiman, then every day, the powerful kingdom that he had, you heard about it yesterday, so again I'm moving forward. He has a magnificent kingdom, mighty kingdom. Everybody is a muwahid. Everybody is obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everybody is worshipping only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But Hazrat Sulaiman's kingdom, which is a magnificent kingdom, he takes attendance every single day. Every day there's an attendance taken of everybody. All of them. You can imagine what a roster that would be, right? Having an attendance of every. One day he's taking the attendance and he sees somebody missing, something missing. Who was missing? May Allah bless all of you. Jazakallah khair. That's the help I needed, inshallah. Because if you help me, then I can end early. If you don't help me, then I have to go till Nisf al-Layl. Okay. One salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Hudhud is missing and he is upset, and the Quran is quoting him. The Quran Majid, the Quran al-Kareem is quoting him. Nabi Allah Sulaiman alayhi salam says, where is Hudhud? If he doesn't have a good reason, I'm going to slaughter him, I'm going to punish him, I'm going to torture him, whatever. In today's terminology, you would have said that he needs anger management. One bird isn't there out of all the millions of other creation. But there was a reason. The commentators, the mufassirin of the Quran Majid have mentioned that there was a reason why he was more concerned about Hudhud, the whoopee bird, than anybody else. And mashallah, with the answers that I'm getting, I'm sure you already know that, so I can inshallah move forward. The whoopee bird, Hudhud, was able to do one thing that nobody's. Jazakallah khair, jazakumullah khair. Allah bless you, inshallah. Say it up. He was able to see water inside the ground the same way we see water inside a glass. So when we look at it like this and we see it, he could look inside the ground and he knew exactly where the water was. So moving forward from there, Sulaiman is upset, alayhi salam. He's upset. And sometime later, Hudhud comes flying around and, Nabi Allah Sulaiman alayhi salam is about to discipline him. And before the disciplinary action starts, Hudhud says, I've just come from a place, it's called Sheba. And in Sheba, the queen is the ruler of Sheba is a woman. Bilqis is a woman. And she has lots of stuff. Lots of things. I'm paraphrasing, please. And they worship the sun. She and her people worship the sun. So he tells Sulaiman that they've got, a good kingdom where they have lots of things. Now remember, up until this time, Sulaiman alayhi salam thought that his kingdom was the kingdom, was the most mighty kingdom. I don't need anything and I've got all of this. And Hudhud comes and says that they have got just as much as you, if not more. And she has got a beautiful throne, basically implying that that throne of hers is better than yours. This is an implication. All right, so basically this was what she comes back with this message. And Hazrat Sulaiman is now perplexed. So he sends her a letter. Now remember one thing. You look at the early history of Islam, latter history of Islam at the time of the Prophet's last time. What had he done? He had sent letters to the people in the entire Arabian Peninsula and even these surrounding areas that there is only one Allah, I am the messenger of Allah, and basically follow my ways. And it was an invitation. And this is why I'm saying that also we have to keep in mind that we also are representatives of Islam, representatives of the Quran, representatives of Rasulullah. We also have to invite others to Islam. But the days of writing letters may not be as applicable in here in the West as it was in the Arabian Peninsula. Our actions become our representation of Islam. Shi'atuna kunu lana zayna wala takunu alayna shayna. Oh, our Shia, be an example for us. Be a source of zayyina for us, of beauty for us. People will see you when they see your honesty, they see your integrity, they see your morals, they see your values, they'll be attracted to Islam. If they see you lying and cheating like the rest of society, they'll say, if they are like this, imagine what their teacher is like. Imagine what their Mawla, their Imam is like. If they are like this, they must have learned it from someone. So be an example. Be on your principle, my sisters and brothers. Be on your principle. I was listening to an interview of this one guy, and he was talking about something very interesting. It's non-Muslim. He mentioned, he says, I'm not a Muslim and I don't want to be a Muslim. He made it very clear. But he says, I like Muslims. You know why? They got principles. They got principles. They believe in something and they stand by it. This interview, it was a very cute, very sweet interview. He was telling his audience, maybe he's a rapper, singer, I don't know, I wouldn't say. I just saw this clip of the interview. He says, if I wore a t-shirt saying Jesus is gay, and I was walking in downtown England, downtown London, or downtown New York, anywhere, I can go from one end to the other, nobody will touch me. I have a shirt like this, bold letters, no one's going to touch me. But he said, if I wear a shirt, Muhammad is, he says, I will not survive till the end of that. I will be killed in between. I'll be beaten or I'll be knocked out or something will happen to me. Why? Because these Muslims have principles. They have something they believe in and they will fight for their belief. A non-Muslim is saying that's what I admire about the Muslims. They believe in something. They're not wishy-washy like the rest of society and the community. Everybody goes this way, we also go that way. Everybody goes that way, we also go that way. They say this is okay, this is okay. Everybody says that is okay, that is okay. No, Muslims have to stand on their principle and they have to stand firm on their principle. Lakum dinukum waliyadin. Surah Kafirun reminds us, if even everybody goes one way, let them go their way. Lakum dinukum waliyadin. We will go our way, the way of haqq. Okay. So keep this in mind. So he sees this and he decides, okay, I'm going to write her a letter. And now comes the second reason why he picked Surah An-Naml. That he starts this letter how? Innahu bismillahir rahmanir rahim. The only surah in the Quran Majid that has got Jazakumullah khair, thank you. And the full Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. So we have a total of 113 surah that start with Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. You told me already yesterday one of them doesn't. Jazakallah khair. And so this 114th was made up in Surah An-Naml. He writes her a letter. I begin in the name of God, the most merciful, the most compassionate. And Bilqis, the queen of Sheba, then has a meeting with her advisors, her ministers. Again, I wish I could have gone into detail. I would have loved to, but inshallah, you have got this homework assignment. You can do it whenever you want, inshallah. It won't be marked and it won't be time limited. So the response of Bilqis, after she has this conversation, the ministers tell her, she asks, what should I do? And the ministers tell her that you are the queen. If you tell us, we can attack. We can attack. We can invade Sulaiman's kingdom. Yani, you have to have the yaqeen, the certainty that your power, your strength is enough for you to fight another country, another empire, another mulk. Okay? And they had that itminan. They had that certainty that we are okay. We are militarily strong. Okay? And that's what we find from a number of countries. Those who are actually engaging in wars, they say, they find that we have and then we'll do whatever we can. And then she says, no, I don't want to take the military approach. I want to see what this message is all about. Is it legitimate, authentic, or is it just another one of those kingdoms? She sends him a whole bunch of gifts. And again, like I said, I'm cutting a lot of things out. As he receives the gifts, he tells the messenger, take them back to her, tell Bilqis I don't need anything. But I'm inviting her to come and talk to me, to meet with me. And so the messenger goes back, takes all the gifts back, and she realizes that somebody who doesn't want all these gifts, and remember, she is a queen. So, from a queen to a king, you're talking about gifts. These are not, little chocolate bars or a box of cookies or things like that. Huh? These are like precious gifts that are, gold, emeralds, rubies, diamonds, maybe antiques, whatever. I didn't see the list that Bilqis had sent him. But So anyways, as a result, she decides to come. Now, as she has made the intention to come, Sulaiman alayhi salam has another meeting and he says, I want that throne. Because now he's thinking about that throne. Huh? He says, I want that throne here. Who can bring it to me? So one of the jinn, who was a tough guy, he says, Nabi Allah Sulaiman, you stand up and before you sit down, I will bring the throne here. Before you sit down from standing up, I will bring the throne here. Good, mashallah. But one other person then stands up, and the Quran Majid says that he was Sahib-e Kitab. He had ilmul kitab. He had a certain amount of the knowledge of the kitab, of the book. Whatever the book in the name of Sulaiman was, some have said that it was the Zabur. وَآتَيْنَا دَاوُودَ Zabura. We had given the whatever. And the commentators, the Mufassirin of the Quran, based on Imam Ali al-Naqi's narration, have said that this man, he was the son of Sulaiman's sister, Asifa Burkiya. And so he says, Ya Nabi Allah. Remember, he has a little bit of knowledge of the kitab, of the book. He says, I can bring that throne to you before you even blink your eye. He had a little bit of knowledge of the book that was in the time of Nabi Allah Sulaiman. Before you blink your eye, I can bring it. Because I have certain powers or certain knowledge that I have got from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that I can do this. La ilaha illallah. If somebody in the time of Sulaiman can bring a majestic throne only because he had a little bit of knowledge. Imagine when the Prophet had said, Al-Qur'anu ma'a Aliyun wa Aliyun ma'al Qur'an. The entire knowledge of the Qur'an is with Ali ibn Abi Talib. The entire Qur'an's knowledge is with this Ali ibn Abi Talib. Imagine if Ali ibn Abi Talib wants to do a miracle, what he cannot do if Sulaiman's person can bring that up. Muhammad. Ya Ali. Not only ilm. Jazakallah. Allahumma salli ala. Not only the knowledge of the Quran, my Mawla and your Mawla, Imam al-Muttaqeen, Amir al-Mu'mineen had. When somebody would come for a judgment, when somebody would come for a decision, the Imam would ask him, are you a Christian? I can give you the decision according to the Bible. If you are a Jew, I can give you a decision according to the Injil. If you're a follower of Dawood, I can give you a decision according to the Zabur. Whatever book you want, I'll give you a decision from that book. Not only the Quran, but the Torah and the Injil and the Zabur was also in the knowledge of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wassalam. He writes the letter and then, like I said, cutting so many things out, she eventually sees that he is a true prophet of God, a true Nabi of Allah, and she surrenders before him, becomes a Muslimah, and the narrations say that eventually he marries her. She becomes a muwahid. And so these were the two reasons why I, in the presence of the respected sisters and brothers that are here tonight in this Masjid Abu Ther, that I had selected. One was the second Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, which made it a unique surah in the entire Quran Majid, and the fact that it talks about a small insect, the ant, the namal. Doesn't matter whether you're big or small, doesn't matter whether you're in the minority or the majority, the important thing is to be on the haqq, on the truth. That is the summation of today's discussion. To be on the haqq, to be on the truth is the most important thing. And that was the whole summation of Abu Abdullah's message. As we mark those 40 days since his shahada, every imam pointed to Abu Abdullah's ziyarah, including the imams before Abu Abdullah, Amir al-Mu'mineen and Hassan al-Mujtaba. Remember, if you think that I am not giving a full fact, did Hassan al-Mujtaba not write a letter to his son Qasim and say that when your uncle is in trouble, go and support him? Amir al-Mu'mineen, when he was returning from the Battle of Siffin and they crossed the area where Karbala was, even he was in tears because this was something dear and near to the Holy Prophet. The Holy Prophet had given a certain amount of soil, earth, from the land of Karbala to Salma, that whenever this becomes blood, know that my Hussein has been killed. Yesterday you had heard that there was a majlis in Syria, in Sham, before the Ahlul Bayt were released. As they were released, they had requested, they had demanded to come to Karbala, to the ziyarat of Abu Abdullah, because the entire time that the events of Karbala took place, no lady was allowed to cry, no child was allowed to shed tears. Anybody who cried, including Zainul Abidin alayhi salam, was beaten, was severely tortured, and so they wanted to come to Karbala and do the ziyarah and to shed tears and to do the azah that they were never allowed to do prior to what happened on Arbaeen. The history tells us that it was on this day of Arbaeen. It was on the day of Arbaeen that the caravan reached this place called Karbala, this village that was called Karbala, and the place of Karbala, the land of Karbala, where they had suffered so much, where they had been going through so many difficulties. One by one, the companions of the Imam, the family of the Imam, the near and dear ones of the Imam were slaughtered. Imagine coming back to that place on the Arbaeen. Hazrat Rabab goes to the place where the grave of Ali Asghar was, and she sits there and sheds the tears for Ali Asghar. Kulthum goes towards the Furat, where her brother Abbas had laid. Layla, if she was in Karbala, she would have gone to the place where Ali Akbar was. My dear mourners, all of the ladies went to the graves of their near and dear ones and their beloved ones. What does Zainab Kubra do? Hazrat Zainab Salamullahi alayha goes to where Hazrat Imam Hussein, Abu Abdullah was. She is doing the azab not only Abu Abdullah, but all of the shuhada. Hazrat Zainab is remembering each and every one of them. 3 days they spent in Karbala. 3 days they did the ziyarah of Allah. Oh Allah, give us a ziyarat of Abu Abdullah. Mawla Abu Abdullah, call us to Karbala. Let us also do Arbaeen there. Let us be able to walk from Najaf to Karbala. Mawla, call us after 3 days. After 3 days, Hazrat Zainab announces that we now must go back to Medina. When she announces that we must go back to Medina, we must go home, everybody is together. The caravan is about to depart towards Medina. Zainab Kubra notices somebody is not there. She understands. Rabab doesn't want to leave Karbala. And she goes to Rabab. She goes, my dear sister, we must go home. Rabab says, Ya bint Rasulullah, O daughter of the Prophet, my Mawla Hussein is here. My baby Ali Asghar is on. My Ali Asghar is alone here in Karbala. Hazrat Zainab insists that we must go back to Medina. I am sure, my heart is telling me this. The historians have not written it. The Maqtal writers have not written it. But I am sure Hazrat Rabab must have told Janab Zainab, Hazrat Zainab, Ya bint Rasulillah, what will I do in Medina? Sakina Ruqayya is in Sham. Ali Asghar and Mawla Hussein are in Karbala. I will go to an empty home. Eventually, she managed to convince Rabab. They all go. The caravan reaches Medina. Bashir announces that the caravan of Hussein has returned. The caravan of Abu Abdullah has returned. What does the first thing Hazrat Zainab do? She takes the shirt of Hazrat Hussein. She takes Abu Abdullah's shirt. She goes to Qabr Rasul, Rawza Rasul, Haram Rasulullah. She says, my dear grandfather, I have returned. But Hussein is not with me. I want to give you condolences, Nana Jan. Oh, my dear grandfather, I give you the condolences of Hussein. He was martyred on the plains of Karbala. He was was hungry and thirsty. The butchers took us from Karbala to Kufa. They even killed Ruqayya Sakina. They snatched away our hijab. As she is narrating this, she faints. She faints, telling Rasulullah what happened in Karbala in Sham. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلب إنا لله Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Oh Allah, accept this ibadat from us. Ya Allah, give us the tawfiq to make sure we discern between haqq and batil and stay on the path of Abu Abdullah. Ya Allah, forgive our sins and give us the tawfiq to remain away from sins. Ya Allah, those who are ill, grant them shifa kamila from their illnesses. Those who have passed away, grant them maghfirah, Ya Allah. Those who are in debt, help them fulfill their debts. Those who do not have enough rizq, enough sustenance, grant them sustenance from your ghaib, Ya Allah. Protect our scholars, our ulama, the Rahbar Inqilab, the Waliya Faqih, our Mujahideen, Sayyid Hassan, Shaykh Zakzaki, all of them who are Abu Malik Houthi, all of them who are serving while the Imam is in occultation. Grant them a long and healthy life in the service of Islam and the Ahlul Bayt, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, we beg you to return our Mullah Imam al-Hujjah to us. Let us be amongst the Ashab and the Ansar of the Imam. Let us be there to avenge the blood of Abu Abdullah, inshallah. And let us help the Imam Sahib al-Amr till the end of our lives. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم. الصلوات على محمد وآل محمد والفاتحة.